Hi, my name is Patrick Reagan. Welcome to the operating systems macOS, where we cover how to use and manage the macOS operating system. In Part 4, Managing Disk and Files covers using the file systems supported in the macOS and the disk utility to manage the disk. It then covers the macOS file structure, followed by using Finder to manage folders and files. Lastly, it shows how to share a file or folder and how to access a shared folder in the macOS, adding a USB drive to a macOS, disk encryption, and the terminal. For those who are going to take the A+ exam, there are practice questions at the end of the video. If you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Apple Mac uses Apple File System or macOS Extended File System. Apple File System, or APFS, is the default file system for Mac computers using macOS 10.13 or later. It features strong encryption, space sharing, snapshots, fast directory sizing, and improved file system fundamentals. APFS allocates disk space within a container or partition on demand. When a single APFS container has multiple volumes, the container's free space is shared and is automatically allocated to any of the individual volumes as needed. APFS is optimized for solid-state storage. macOS Extended was used on macOS 10.12 or earlier. Mac computers also support MS-DOS FAT or exFAT. Use exFAT if you need to share between Windows computers and Apple computers, such as with a USB thumb drive. APFS supports the following formats: APFS, which does not provide encrypted or case sensitive; APFS encrypted, which uses the APFS format and encrypts the volume; APFS case sensitive, which uses the APFS format and is case sensitive to file and folder names. For example, folder's name, test with a capital T, test all capitals, and test all lowercase are three different folders. APFS case sensitive encrypted is case sensitive to file and folder names, and it encrypts the volume. Since the Apple computer system is based on BSD Unix, it resembles a file system similar to what was covered in the Linux videos. You can easily add or delete volumes in APFS containers. Each volume with an APFS container can have its own APFS format: APFS, APFS encrypted, APFS case sensitive, or APFS case sensitive encrypted. From the Launchpad, you can open the disk utility to see your drives. The disk utility will show you total size of a disk, how much the space is being used and how much space is free, what type of file system, and the mount point. It also shows the type of connection. The disk utility can also be used to resize your partitions. The drive on the screen shows that the primary drive is formatted with APFS file system and mounted at the root directory. It is 239.85 gigabyte disk with 25.5 gigabytes used and 209.51 gigabytes free. It is connected to SATA. This drive shows that the USB external drive that is formatted with exFAT file system and mounted at the /volume/Samsung USB is a 256.64 gigabyte disk with 67.25 gigabytes used and 189.39 gigabytes free. It is connected to USB. To format a drive with a file system, you right-click a drive and click Erase. You would then specify a volume name and the file system you want to use, such as APFS, APFS, encrypted, or exFAT. You can also add a container or partition out of a free disk space on your drive and use a different file system for that container. To add a container, you click the plus above volume at the top of the disk utility to open the Add APFS Volume to Container dialog box. You can right-click a drive and click First Aid, or click a drive and click First Aid at the top of the disk utility to run a health check on the volume. As you can see from the terminal window, the disk structure is different from Linux, although you can recognize a few directories. However, Most of the folders are hidden when using Finder. The Applications folder contains apps including Mail, Calendar, Safari, and many others. Apps in this folder also appear in Launchpad. If you try to drag an app out of the Applications folder, it isn't moved. Instead, an alias is created. The Library folder contains fonts and other items used by apps that are available to all users of your Mac. Don't use the Library folder to store files and folders you create. The System folder contains the macOS operating system. You can change the name or location of the System folder or the items within it. The /volumes directory is used to mount additional drives such as USB drives, only seen from the terminal. The Users folder contains the home folders of all the people set up as users on your Mac. The User folder with the house is your home or the current user logged in directory. The User/Home, your home folder, is named with your username and has folders for your desktop files, downloads, pictures, documents, movies, music, and other public files. You can create folders in your home folder. Finder is the primary file management program included with Apple Macs. Similar to File Explorer, you can copy, rename, move, and delete files. Similar to Windows File Explorer, the desktop is technically Finder. When Finder is open and is a focused program, the Finder menu will appear at the top. To configure Finder, you would open the Finder menu and click Preferences. The General tab will allow you to configure which appears on the desktop. The Preferences Sidebar tab allows you to specify what appears on the Finder sidebar. The Preferences Advanced tab allows you to show the extensions, warn before emptying the trash, and remove the trash after 30 days. You can open the View menu to show items as icons, lists, columns, or gallery, and to sort by name, kind, date, size, or tags. You can also do the same by clicking the buttons at the top of the Finder windows. If you right-click a file or folder, you can open the file or folder, rename the file or folder, duplicate the file or folder, make aliases or shortcut, copy, share, set desktop pictures if it is a picture, or move to trash or delete. You can then right-click an empty space of the folder. You can paste a previous copied item or create a new folder. You can use the search text box to search for files and folders. You can use the standard asterisk and question mark for searches. If you want to search for the asterisks or question marks, you have to use the tilde character. If you click a file or folder and click the Share button, you can share the file or folder via mail, messages, AirDrop, or notes. AirDrop is a feature on Apple devices that allows users to wirelessly share files between Apple devices and Mac computers. AirDrop uses Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to transfer files including photos, videos, documents, audio recordings, contact cards, web links, and notes. You can also create an SMB shared folder on old Macs by opening System Preferences and click Sharing. For the service, select File Sharing. Add a shared folder by clicking the Add button. Click Options, then turn on Shared Files and Folders using SMB. If you're sharing files with Windows computers, select the On checkbox for each user that needs to share files with Windows computers, then enter the password for that user account. Click Done. At the top of the dialog box, you can specify the NetBIOS computer name. On newer Macs, you can create an SMB shared folder by opening the System Preferences and click General. Then click Sharing on the right. You may need to scroll down. For the service, select File Sharing. Add a shared folder by clicking the Add button. Specify the type of access for the user, such as read-only or read-write. Click Options. click Shared Files and Folders using SMB, and click Done. To access an SMB shared folder, you would open Finder and click Network. Click the computer you're trying to connect to, then click the Connect As button. When you're prompted for credentials, specify the username and password. If you want to save the password for later use, click to select Remember this password in my keychain. Click Connect. If you connect a USB drive to a Mac, it will automatically recognize the drive, load the appropriate drivers, and mount the drive under /volumes. Remote Disk allows the Mac computer access to a CD or DVD disk loaded onto a separate computer, another optical drive equipped Mac or similar equipped PC running the necessary Windows applications on the same network as though the drives were connected directly to the Mac. Remote Disk will not work with audio CDs or video DVDs. This option is not as common today because of the shift from optical disks to USB devices. FileVault is a disk encryption program in macOS 10.3, Panther 2003, and later. Similar to BitLocker, it performs on-the-fly encryption with volumes on Mac computers. If you have a Mac with Apple Silicon or an Apple T2 security chip, your data is encrypted automatically. Similar to a terminal window in Linux, you can open a terminal on a Mac. You can use all of your standard commands learned in the Linux videos to manage files and directories. You can also use your network troubleshooting commands such as ping and traceroute. To see your IP configuration, you must use the ifconfig command. Question: which file will the Mac OS use? Answer: APFS. Question: what utility would you use to resize a partition on a Mac computer? Answer: disk utility. Question: after installing an application on a Mac computer, where would the software be found? Answer: applications. Question: on a Mac computer, how do you access a window where you can run commands? Answer: terminal. Question: on a Mac computer, what utility do you use to connect to an SMB share? Answer: Finder. For more information, visit these sites. In summary, Apple File System, or APFS, is the default file system for Mac computers using macOS 10.13 or later. APFS supports the following formats that include options with or without encryption and case sensitive. From the Launchpad, you can open the disk utility to see and manage your drives, including partitions. You can run the first aid from the disk utility to run a health check on the volume. The Users folder contains the home folders of all the people set up as users on the Mac. Finder is the primary file management program included with Apple Macs. File Vault is a disk encryption program in macOS X 10.3, Panther, or later. Similar to Terminal Window in Linux, you can open a terminal on a Mac. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will be Operating Systems, macOS, Part 5, Applications, Update, Backup, and other features. If you have not already, don't forget to subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Thank you.